So, good evening. Thank you all for being here. Was haven't met. My name is Ken Quinn. I'm the President Emeritus of the World Food Prize Foundation. But much more importantly, I've been a volunteer advisor to Heidi Kuhn and Roots of Peace since 2019. And I want to explain how we met. And, you know, in some of the rom-com movies or things, people say, oh, you had me at, and then there's certain, word or phrase and that. So that's, Heidi and I met when I would say, you had me at landmines. No, this is a true story, in my very last Borlaug dialogue, which was themed Peace Through Agriculture, and having taken 4 years of Latin in high school. Anybody here taking Latin? No, I didn't think so. Oh, wow. Holy cow. Latin's not quite as dead as I thought. But I remember Pax Romana from history, and I put on the front of this with Norman Borlaug's picture, Peace Through Agriculture, Pax Agricultura, Peace Through Agriculture. And I had we had the Director of National Intelligence, John Negroponte, and we had, professors from China and Africa and the Middle East, all around the world, talking about how we could use agriculture as a way of preventing conflict, promoting peace. And but also wanted to have a panel on post-conflict resolution with agriculture. And I looked at 2 genocides. I brought the Minister of Transportation from Cambodia, the Cambodian genocide, whom I had known when I was ambassador to Cambodia. I brought the Minister of Agriculture from Rwanda, Rwanda had gone through a terrible genocide and now is still recovering. And Pat Shake, who had worked for USDA for many years, said, I know somebody you should add, Heidi Kuhn. She has this organization, Roots of Peace, that are working in Vietnam. So having served in Vietnam for 5.5 years, I said, okay, Pat, I know you. And that. So we had and then James Smith from the Aegis Trust has a wonderful, not wonderful, nothing about genocide is wonderful, but they have the very moving museum and in Rwanda, and he was on the panel as well. And we had a luncheon beforehand, and this is when Heidi and I met, and she said, yes, I'm working on removing landmines and bringing in agriculture to restore the land. And I said, whoa, and then we've been kind of, since then, sort of bound together. I was retiring. She said, why don't you and your wife, Lei-sun, my wife down here, Lei-sun, come with me. We'll go to Vietnam in January of 2020. The pandemic hadn't arrived. So, guess what? We can go and walk in the minefields again. So this is Heidi's sort of, test you. Do you know your blood type? And because they're going to ask you. And Heidi had walked the minefields with Violet Gergich's father, Mike, in Croatia. And so we went there, and on her birthday, January 6th, she got to detonate a landmine as a present on her birthday. And she invited me to come and put my thumb on the button with her. And, we pushed, and there's this explosion, and one less of the 60 million landmines that still poison the earth. And ever since then, in my retirement, I've got several gigs, one with the African Development Bank. I just got back from China, where I was co-chairing the World Agri-Food Innovation Conference. My trip back took 49 hours, so you look over there and I'm asleep and my head's down, somebody just hit me with my cane to wake me up and there. But and I've come to know Heidi and see the incredible life she has lived. So I understand it's kind of cool from young people. You say, oh, it's 1.0, 2.0, meaning you're doing something. So, and I don't really know what it means, but I say it because young people like that, they kind of nod and makes me look like I know. Right? Yeah, thank you. But this is like Heidi Kuhn 4.0, because there's one back where as a high school girl, she went as a Rotary scholar, a young high school student off to Japan, beginning this voyage that brought her here. Then she's a CNN correspondent in Moscow, and at the table as the Soviet Union is collapsing and Russia is reemerging and going through incredible transition, and there, and then in 1997, inspired by Princess Diana, at her family table in her beautiful home with a spectacular view. If you can get her to invite you over to see it, it's really incredible. In Marin County in San Francisco, outside San Francisco, they start Roots of Peace. And how can you build from that? And over 25 years, she's got programs going in Afghanistan and all the provinces of Afghanistan in that conflict. She's been in Croatia, been in the Holy Land, been in Vietnam. It's sort of, like the saint, she's here, she's there, she's everywhere on this. And then in 2023, she was chosen World Food Prize laureate, and is kind of now at a transition moment where Heidi is now, I think, filled with this energy and drive and passion that's got me up here, as I was prepared to stay home, and I'm not over jet lag, but I got to be here for her because she inspires me, and as now a mission of inspiration with her new foundation that she's launching tonight. On September 26th, the Kuhn Institute for Post-Conflict Studies was established at the University of California at Berkeley. It's another part of Heidi Kuhn 4.0, if I may. And tonight, the second part of that, and this incredible array of white roses that were inspired, as she told me, by this event with children in Colombia, right? In Colombia. And so I'm so pleased to be able to be here with her, help her with this launch, moderate the discussion a bit later. But now I want to invite my dear friend, World Food Prize laureate David Beckman, led Bread for the World, advocate for the hungry and reducing hunger, to offer a prayer. That will be followed then by a video, and which will be the introduction of Heidi Kuhn. So, David, to you.
Let us pray. All right. Let us pray. I can pray here. Okay. We understand you in many different ways. But tonight we pray together for a more peaceful world and renewed progress against hunger. Violent conflict has increased, hunger is increasing, and extreme hunger has surged. We pray that this year's Borlaug Forum will lead to renewed efforts to solve these problems. And as we begin this session, we thank you for Heidi Kuhn, for Roots of Peace, and the Global Peace Foundation Heidi is now leading. Open our hearts and minds to the global campaign she is launching tonight. Amen.
Amen.
In January of 1997, the world watched Princess Diana walk through an active minefield in Angola. This bold action brought worldwide awareness to the global humanitarian crisis caused by landmines. At the time Princess Diana bravely stepped into the minefield, landmines killed and injured more than 25,000 people each year, many of them civilians and children. At the rate that land was being demined, it was estimated that it would take more than 1,000 years to rid the world of more than 100 million landmines if no new ones were laid. There was no end in sight to the daily threat faced by people in war-torn regions, who were denied access to their homes and fields by the mines holding the land hostage. Among those watching Princess Diana's courageous journey was a mother in California who, seeing the devastating impact landmines have on children, was inspired to take up this cause. Her first step was attending the Ottawa Convention later that year, where she witnessed 120 countries sign the treaty to ban anti-personnel landmines. As she watched this unprecedented agreement to disarmament and peace, Heidi Kuhn made an unwavering commitment to her mission of turning mines to vines and planting the roots of peace through agriculture. In her youth, competing in the high dive gave Heidi the confidence to take the plunge in places where others would hesitate. Staying true to her roots, Heidi attended the University of California, Berkeley, where she pursued a degree in political economics. During her time at Berkeley, she was inspired by the peace movement of the 1970s and embraced the vision of a world free from conflict and division. It was also at Berkeley where she met her husband Gary, and together they embarked on a shared journey dedicated to uplifting others and creating meaningful change. During the 1990s, Heidi's career as a respected reporter took flight in Alaska, where she founded her own news organization, NewsLink International, and reported for many prominent news networks, including ABC, CBS, CNN, NBC, and Nippon Television. While simultaneously raising her children, she earned a reputation for bridging borders for peace. Fearlessly crossing boundaries, Heidi became the first U.S. journalist to report from the eastern region of the Soviet Union, bringing forth stories to promote understanding and peace between the two global superpowers. Amidst her successful career in news, Heidi's life took an unexpected turn when she received a diagnosis of cancer. Nevertheless, she emerged from her successful treatment with a renewed sense of purpose. Her determination to forge a path towards peace was stronger than ever, as she set out to confront another form of cancer plaguing the earth: landmines. In September 1997, only months after her pivotal moment of watching Princess Diana on the news walking through minefields, Heidi founded Roots of Peace, a transformative concept to turn mines to vines by replacing the remnants of war with flourishing vineyards and orchards across the globe. Heidi's mission began out of the humble basement of her California home with pennies for peace. With Heidi's indomitable spirit leading the effort, she successfully rallied support from renowned Napa Valley vintners, including Robert Mondavi, Mike Gergich, and Diane Disney Miller. With the support of vintners, the U.S. State Department, and the International Trust Fund of Slovenia, Heidi successfully raised the funds to clear her first landmines left behind by the Croatian War of Independence. As Heidi worked alongside the Croatian Mine Action Center to clear mines from former vineyards in Croatia, she witnessed the devastating impact of fear on farmers and their children. Heidi realized that beyond mine removal, these rural communities needed additional support to fully recover.
Because demining is only half the problem. Roots of Peace comes in strongly with the replanting, the regenerative agriculture, and that's where we realize the opportunity. It's all about jobs for people living in war-torn lands.
Shifting her focus, Heidi pioneered efforts to help farmers replant their vineyards and orchards using modern techniques. In places like Bastica, a former war frontline, she guided farmers in planting 25,000 grapevines and 14,000 apple trees. Her instrumental work revitalized the renowned Croatian wine industry and blossoming apple, cherry, and lavender production, breathing new life into rural communities. In 2003, Heidi extended her transformative efforts to the Shomali Plain in Afghanistan, where she requested the demining agency to prioritize clearing vital irrigation canals, crucial for food production. Through the removal of more than 100,000 unexploded bombs and mines from canals and farmland, Heidi and Roots of Peace enabled farmers to reclaim their fields and restore agricultural productivity. Together, they replanted the fields, ushering in a renewed era of growth and prosperity for the Afghan farmers. Heidi was amazed to discover the rich heritage of Afghanistan's native grape varieties. To honor the Afghan culture, Heidi focused on producing native table grapes and traditional crops, employing improved techniques. Roots of Peace introduced cement trellising, raising the vines off the ground and away from moisture and pests. This innovative approach doubled yields, transforming over 1,000 hectares of vineyards and elevating the Afghan grape industry. Recognizing the impact of war on traditional farming knowledge, Heidi established field school programs to train over 220,000 farmers in horticultural skills and business management, including over 5,000 women.
The more we can turn those swords into plowshares, those guns into shovels, and put these Afghan men and women back to work in the fields, this is how we plant the roots of peace.
Heidi's efforts reached Vietnam in 2010, where Roots of Peace partnered with Mines Advisory Group to demine and rebuild Quang Tri Province in the former demilitarized zone. Through planting over 1.6 million black pepper trees and establishing market linkages, the region's black pepper industry experienced a remarkable resurgence. Today, the area is renowned for its high-quality black pepper. More than 3,500 farmers have benefited from this profitable crop and taken pride in cultivating a spice deeply rooted in their cultural heritage. After more than 25 years, Roots of Peace has grown into a thriving global force to help feed a hungry world, transforming the lives of over 1 million farmers and farming families. Across the globe in Guatemala, Angola, Israel, Palestine, Ukraine, Croatia, Bosnia-Herzegovina, in Afghanistan, Azerbaijan, Iraq, Cambodia, and Vietnam, Roots of Peace has facilitated the removal of over 100,000 landmines and unexploded bombs, and restored once devastated land to bountiful agricultural use. Through Heidi's visionary leadership, Roots of Peace gained support from national governments and world leaders by showing the vital role of agriculture in resilient recovery and peace building. Thanks to Heidi's unwavering dedication, what started out as one woman's radical idea for peace has grown into a thriving global force, sowing the seeds for peace and abundance and nurturing a harvest of hope for generations to come. We are proud to honor Heidi Kuhn as the 2023 World Food Prize Laureate.
Hear me? There we are. It's such an honor to be back here in the heartland of America and to be on the stage with 3 people who were present when I received the World Food Prize Award in October 2023. And it was only a few days prior to this award that Hamas had attacked Israel. And for the past 2 years, we as a world have witnessed the devastation of war and the impact on many hundreds, countless mothers and children who suffer today in Israel, in West Bank, in Gaza, in the Holy Land, And all land is holy. All land produces beautiful white roses when we respect the seeds we have in common as opposed to those which separate us. We have also witnessed, as humanity, so unhumanely in Ukraine, where our Ukrainian delegation is present in this room, over 30% of your beautiful land that was once considered the breadbasket of Europe and the excess wheat fed North Africa, 30% of your beautiful land is now riddled with landmines, UXO, and cluster munition. And whoever wins or loses this war, children yet to be born will repatriate to their homeland to pick flowers like mothers in Bosnia-Herzegovina, joyful to come home and present them, and hear the sound of boom, boom, boom. This is a true story in Bosnia-Herzegovina, as the children repatriated and saw the beautiful flowers blooming in the fields to pick their parents' flowers. And the mothers surrounded the whole community as the deminers rapidly dug, as the children cried, "Help, help, my leg's gone, I can't see." And slowly, those children died, which inspired my entire family, my husband Gary, my son Brooks, Tucker, Kylie, and Christian, and to be born in the heart of Marin County as a fifth-generation descendant of a California pioneer ranching family. What was taught to me is you respect the land and you respect the people. And regardless of the color of our hand, the faith in our heart, or the politics in our mind, we have to demine today, 2 years later, not only the soil, but the soul, and replenish it with something we don't talk about as much as we should. It's called the power of love. And these beautiful white flowers are reminiscent of the beauty that grows from the one earth that we're given to steward, to shepherd, whether we're Christians, Jews, or Muslims. And as my dear Granny McNear would always teach me as a little girl gardening in her backyard, coincidence is a miracle in which God prefers to remain anonymous. There are no accidents. And my oldest grandchildren, my son Brooks is a medical doctor at UC Davis, married to a beautiful woman, Dr. Upinder Mathu. My grandchildren are half Indian. And today is Diwali. It's the festival of light, turning darkness into light and evil into the power of love. That is a coincidence or not that my grandmother would be so proud of today, and which deeply inspires me to be here today as I speak with Ambassador Quinn on a regular basis, so privileged to have his knowledge, his wisdom to guide me at a time when I don't know, as many of us to do, what course correction do I take? I'm running against the wind, Ambassador. I'm trying to do peace. I just lost my funding for Afghanistan. I have to fire 200 people who've worked for me for 20 years, who believed in the heart of an American mother. Well, ladies and gentlemen, today we are launching the Heidi Kuhn Global Peace Foundation as a 4.0, and with those here on the stage who have stood by my side for over 28 years. And I must say the power of resilience and determination that we are currently in Afghanistan today, employing hundreds of men and women farmers with the funding very generously given to us by the European Union and UNDP. And we are turning those guns into shovels, those swords into plowshares, so that nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. And as Dr. Norman Borlaug so wisely told us from the heartland of America, those with full tummies are not going to shoot. You know, we all have the right, we're born, our moral obligation is to feed our children. So as a mother of 4 and a grandmother of 7, soon to be 8 in April, a little girl will come into my life. And on behalf of my grandchildren and great-great-grandchildren, I hope that today this launch of this new initiative can lift up and scale, creating global gardens all over the world. And we've had many wonderful conversations this last day, the short day in the heartland of America, about public-private partnerships, taking this advocacy but partnering for peace, going to the Silicon Valley, to my homeland, and showing these incredible, brilliant scientists and visionaries a pathway forward. For when we launched the CUNE Initiative for Post-Conflict Development Studies at my alma mater, UC Berkeley, in 1979, peace and love defined my generation. And I tell you, that battle cry is back, because nothing is more important in this world than planting peace and love on earth. A flower planted today will grow as it has for thousands of years. And we are leading with a white rose. And as we learn from a rose through ancient wisdom, that a flower, when planted today, will grow, when nurtured and cultivated. And yes, a rose with a beautiful, thin, green stem has thorns. This is reminiscent of life. We prick our finger, we bleed. But through the pain and suffering and the resilience comes a fragrant white rose and the velvet touch of a petal for peace. And the joy that we have in hearing the appreciation and love when we give it to someone. So this is what we are announcing today, the White Rose Campaign, and we will continue our work in Afghanistan. May beautiful flowers, but most importantly, food to feed the hungry, the children. Peace is possible. Roots of Peace is currently working in Guatemala. Instead of building higher walls, we're investing in the root cause of outmigration, because the farmers are coming here for jobs, and the soil is rich in Central America, in the beautiful fields of Guatemala, in El Salvador, in Nicaragua, and the Hass avocado actually was pioneered in Antigua, Guatemala. It was named after a professor, Professor Hass, and they're being exported here. No child prefers to leave their grandmother and their family. If we keep them rooted in the land, it's the business of peace, the exports. So it's a business model we're announcing: demine, replant, rebuild. Repeat, 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 till we get every single landmine out of the face of this earth. And with 110 million landmines in over 60 countries and counting, we have a moral responsibility for a bipartisan, interfaith approach to peace. Next year is the year of the woman farmer, and I'm very proud to announce today a new partnership that will be a surprise to both of you, but ABC 7 News anchor Cheryl Jennings is partnering with me. We are going to be traveling the world, every single landmine we can get out, every fruit tree that we can plant it, and we want to tell stories of courageous women farmers from around the world, and including those in our own country. For I will be going to our Central Valley of California in San Joaquin Valley, where the funding has unfortunately stopped for the farmers who would be paid to give the excess harvests to the children, the very poor children living in those communities. Now the children can't be fed, and the farmers don't have extra money for their Thanksgiving, Christmas tables. So we're going to raise money through Rotary, and we're going to find innovative ways. Because if yes, there's situations in our world today where funding is stopped, but let's look and use that entrepreneurial spirit and bring the Silicon Valley, the Napa Valley, the Mill Valleys of Marin County together, and our world. I think if we point a way for our students and children, we'll find a pathway for peace. So stay tuned to those podcasts. And again, I am a 12th generation American, a daughter of American Revolution, and DAR. And I stand here in the heartland of America as a bipartisan, proud American woman. Peace is possible. Peace through agriculture. I heard it from this great gentleman, this great leader. When I think of the United States and I think of the folklore heroes that I read in my history books, very rarely do they pop out to life. And it is His Excellency, Ambassador Kenneth Quinn, who has inspired my heart and to step forward into my big girl shoes and start my own charity and the Heidi Kuhn Global Peace Foundation. So I would like to thank you all for being here, and a beautiful culmination to announce today. On Friday is United Nations Day, and from the heartland of America, what are we going to do? Well, let me tell you, I went to Mass on Sunday at St. Ambrose, and I met Father Nevin and told him it was UN Day. Well, he said, let's gather at the Prairie City, and let's gather with the Hmong and Lao Community Farm at 2 o'clock this Friday, October 24th, to celebrate the United Nations and all the nations of the world. The UN Charter was signed in San Francisco on the 26th of June, 1945. But prior to that, our President Franklin Delano Roosevelt never, ever wanted another World War II, ever, ever. No carnage. And as we're on the vanguard of escalating wars, I think this is a unique moment in history for us to stand as human beings for what it means to be human and what it means to feed our children. He didn't want to gather what was forming as the United Nations under a convention center like we're in or cement walls. He chose to invite them to Muir Woods in Marin County, where the redwood trees had grown for thousands of years, reminding us of our human connection, of our footsteps for peace to the earth that feeds us. He died the month before, and his memorial was there on May 19th, 1945, where we led the San Francisco Consul Generals, 70 of them, through a walk just this past May. So I invite you to join us on this next chapter, this next journey, but it wouldn't be possible with this new garden, because you never know who's sitting in the audience. And 2 years ago, there was a teacher, a lovely teacher from Texas, who heard me speak. A year later, I thought, well, my goodness, I saw her and she goes, I wrote a children's book. I wrote it about you, and it's Heidi's Garden of Hope. So the garden in Prairie City on UN Day will be named after you and your leadership, Marla. Please stand up. Heidi's Garden of Hope, a journey of soil and soul. So Marla and her husband, thank you so much, and we'll certainly share this with all of you. And she has 250 copies, so we'll be inspiring the youth when I speak on Thursday, and we're going to have a little hashtag pose for the rose. I think we've done that at Cornell University already, and a wonderful emissary in the audience, and we just believe that peace is possible. So I will turn it, before I turn it over to Ambassador Quinn to moderate our panel discussion. There are those who have been the wind beneath my wings in life, and I've always loved the quote by Sir Isaac Newton, if I've seen further than others, it's only because I've stood on the shoulders of giants. And one of those giants was a humble man who, through the United Nations, immigrated from Croatia. You'll hear the details of that story. And sneaking a little bottle of wine into the Paris tasting 200 years ago, surprise, won the Paris tasting. And when there's 17 wineries in 1976, when I graduated from high school, today there are over 600 wineries. And my father passed away 3 years ago this week, and he was a farmer, rancher. And I'm a farmer's daughter, and this is a farmer's daughter. And I just want to say thank you to everyone here, and most especially also to my son Tucker Kuhn, who walked many minefields with me as his mother. He came to me and presented his MBA, and he had traveled to Yemen, Afghanistan, country director of Vietnam for 3 years, and I'm very proud to stand and say he is now the CEO of Roots of Peace. So it's passing that torch to the next generation. And as Mienko Grgic has passed the torch to the next generation, it's my great honor to introduce his daughter, Violet Grgic, my dearest friend, who is the wind beneath my wings.
Well, that's a hard act to follow. I remember very well my father coming home one evening and saying, "I have met a woman, and she is a force of nature." And that, of course, was Heidi. And when she talked to him about landmines, and he told her that there were millions of landmines in his homeland of Croatia, from which he fled in the early 1950s. And that inspired Heidi to demine the very first vineyard in Dragalić, Croatia. My father did not tell me that he was going to Croatia and walking the minefield with her, because I would not allow that. So he was being very sneaky. But that started a very long friendship and partnership. Both of my parents are Croatian. My mother also survived World War II. In fact, my mother went on to help found a project at La Roche College in Pittsburgh called Pacem in Terris, which was designed to bring students from ex-Yugoslavia and educate them here in America, and then send them back with the knowledge to keep peace. So, because both of my parents escaped death on many occasions during the war, it was something I heard about all the time. I grew up listening to stories of not just, the terror, but also the love that the family brought together, and how two of my father's sisters, each individually at a different time, saved him from death. It was truly an amazing story. He came to America because when he was studying at the University of Zagreb in Croatia, he heard from a professor who'd gone on sabbatical to UC Berkeley for a year that Napa Valley was paradise, and America was a land where you can achieve your dreams. And that was the dream that inspired him to come to America. It wasn't really easy. He actually had to flee because the secret police were after him because his professor dared to say anything positive about America to him. So he fled through Germany, was there for 4 years, finally managed to get a visa, not to America, but to Canada, because they were looking for lumberjacks to work in the Yukon, which is really funny because those of you who know my dad was about this tall. And so the idea of him being a lumberjack was really quite funny. Fortunately, the person who was supposed to meet him missed the train, and my father became a dishwasher instead. So very long story, but he finally ended up in Napa Valley, worked with some very famous winemakers. Not only did he make the Chardonnay that won the Paris tasting of 1976 and put Napa Valley on the map, but he also made the 1969 Cabernet that made Robert Mondavi famous. So that's why Chateau Montelena hired him to make Cabernet. But his cash flow wine Chardonnay ended up winning the day in Paris, which was pretty remarkable. I think it took many years for that to actually sink in, that a poor peasant who grew up on a farm, who had no money, who was a shepherd, who stomped grapes since the age of 3, and everything that they consumed was produced by them. The fact that he could win such an award and was just beyond him, but he always sought peace, as did my mother. And so the stories that I heard, I don't get into my car every day. I don't go into my house without thinking this could be gone tomorrow. Most Americans don't grow up like that. If you live in a very poor area where there's a lot of violence, you might. But that's a different kind of violence than people who hate you because of who you are and what your nationality is. And so my parents have always fought for peace, and peace through agriculture. It's absolutely true. If you are well-fed, you have no desire to go to war. And our idea of peace through agriculture has been something that's been very important to us. So we started farming organically in 2000, biodynamically in 2003, and then started regenerative organic farming in 2018, all in an effort to produce balance. Balance is our favorite word. We want to make wine that's balanced. We want to farm in a way that's balanced, creates healthy living soil. We want to balance all our employees and how much we pay them and how much we work. So everything that we do is about balance. And so I would love to say, for those of you who tried our wines, they're very well balanced. So does anybody remember learning how to ride a bicycle? Yeah. I remember, even though it was many decades ago, I remember it really well. And it was our neighbor's father And he was holding me, and I was like, I literally, like, the bike was this way, and it was that way, and it was that way. And I'm like, I cannot believe, how can anybody balance? Because whatever that balance thing is, it is so thin, you can't possibly imagine getting it. And then literally the second that I got balance, I thought I had entered another dimension and I could fly. And it's like there's infinity all around me. It was incredible. And for me, that is what balance is. When you have balance, you can do anything. You can go anywhere. You can achieve anything. You can set your dreams and go beyond them. So for us, the big dream is peace. You know, I grew up in a very peaceful country, but I grew up listening to my parents' stories. And I worry for my child and about the kind of role that she will grow up in. And so whatever we can do, we each do our own thing. We can't each all go out and demine, but hopefully through the way that we're farming and how we're taking care of our land, we're sequestering carbon, we are helping the climate, hopefully reverse climate change. And actually my dad, all of his accomplishments, he said that the number one thing that he was most proud of was providing employment for almost 50 people. And in fact, the last thing that he asked before he died was, who's doing payroll? I want to make sure my employees get paid. It's actually true. So anyway, I'm going on way too long, but we're very committed to peace, to Roots of Peace, to Heidi and her vision, but also to helping making the world a better place. My dad was told by his father, every day, do your best, learn something new, and make a friend. And those are the words that we live by. Those are the values that we live by. And I hope to count each and every one of you as my friend. So thank you.
Oh, so thank you, Violet, Heidi. We're going to have a little moderated discussion and perhaps involve the audience. Yes, if that's, yeah. But I just want to, at one point, I didn't quite explain how I was into landmines at first and why we had a connection. So I grew up in Dubuque, Iowa, and somehow passed the Foreign Service exam to become an American diplomat. And I went to Washington with dreams and visions of fancy parties in Paris or Vienna and that. And instead, in 1967, they sent me to Vietnam, work out in the provinces in the middle of the Vietnam War. And instead of getting training in which fine wines to serve at my fancy parties that I'd be hosting, I was sent to Fort Bragg to walk the landmine trail and learn how to avoid booby traps and being blown up and that. So this is the 50-year anniversary of the end of the Vietnam War. December 5th of 2024, Heidi and I were at the U.S. Institute of Peace. If you live in Washington or follow the news, you know it's an organization that's sort of being struggled between DOGE and the George Moose, my fellow Foreign Service officer, about who's got the keys to the door and who can get in or not. But that hadn't happened yet. One of the very last events at the U.S. Institute Peace building was our symposium, our conference on the Vietnam War. And I started by saying the most sobering fact is that the last casualty of the Vietnam War, 50 years after the end, has yet to take place. Because there will be somebody, some poor, unfortunate person in Quang Tri who will be hopefully not killed or hopefully not badly hurt, but will be hurt, probably more than one, by those unexploded bombs there. And have visitors from Ukraine who are here. So when you're back 50 years from now at the 2075 World Food Prize, and that to see who's the laureate that year, and that it will be the case, unfortunately, that the last casualty of the tragic Ukraine conflict or of the Gaza conflict has yet to take place. That is the sobering, insidious aspect of this problem. I want, David, you've been all around the world. You've seen and advised. You bring the power of religion and faith to be a force multiplier in the issues for peace. I want to invite you to offer, your comments or anything you'd like to add to what Hailey and Violet have said.
Well, I have a question for Heidi.
Yeah.
Can you explain, as you start the work of this foundation, you've talked about the White Roses campaign and Global Gardens. Can you explain what those things are? What are you going to do?
Well, let's see if I can borrow this. Well, if I can say, I've had some extraordinary conversations with those in this room, and it is through public-private partnerships that we are going to establish our pilot programs. And one of the major donors and partners in this room, whose name I will not say, out of respect for this announcement that will hopefully come, we targeted two specific countries. One will be Afghanistan, and the other will be Colombia, where these flowers were grown by women in Colombia, and the local florist here shipped them up here, especially just a week ago. And they were so excited in Colombia because it is the second most highest concentration of landmines in the world. And yet, I have been there, I've demined with the FARC. What happens when the landmines are out and we don't have the money to plant and to provide the agriculture and the nutritional crops, the cacao, the drug lords, let me just be straight up, come in and people need to feed their families. So we're going to target an area, specific global garden in Colombia and one in Afghanistan. And through the partnerships that are formed here at the World Food Prize, Borlaug Dialogue, we are going to have a very specific global garden and leading with the white rose all over the world. When we get this right, we are going to draw upon Bread for the World, where you were President Emeritus, and all the stakeholders who have the knowledge, the soil and soul, how to best take care of the soil and nurture the soul that feeds us. We have an incredible doctor here. Raise your hand there. You. With USDA, but anyway. But there's many people whose knowledge in this room, exactly, that we need to seek. We don't want to pioneer or tell anybody what a global garden will be. We want to listen to the experts and have again, for food security to feed the children, the best, most nutritional crops. In the case of Africa, I was a keynote speaker a year ago this week at it's called the World Agroforestry Center in Nairobi, and they have an incredible lab with the soils that they study the high nutritional crops. They call it the African orphan crops. And because of the malnutrition, they know how to plant those proper crops. But it's all about the money. And that's why we've started this foundation. So we can go, once we identify the prototypes, I will go with these new partners, introduce them to our friends in Silicon Valley, in Napa Valley, who say, where do we do? What do we do? Where's the North Star? And I don't think we really, collectively, we compete so much for limited dollars, but I think if we work collectively and find best practices, we can change the world. And again, the White Rose, we have these all beautifully donated, and I hope this is a living example to the world of the beauty and bounty that grows from the earth we share. And if you have ideas and want to partner, I'm all here.
Okay, I might have ideas. But so I hadn't heard that before, but what I had heard from you is that Roots for Peace will continue to work, but she doesn't need to be the CEO anymore. Her son may do that. And so with this new foundation, what she wants to do is celebrate and encourage the good work that others are doing, especially in this area of peacemaking and agriculture, and using agriculture to contribute to peace. Do I get that right? I think that's great, because instead of just plowing ahead doing what she's always done, she's taking a broader view and thinking about how she can multiply what she's done by encouraging a lot of other people to do similar things. So congratulations. I'm
another
for
way-
it. I'm praying for it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Those are big prayers.
Yeah. Another way of thinking about what Heidi is going to be doing is that her product is going to be inspiration. Sort of like Billy Graham in religion, or people who stand up in the midst of everyone and give that inspiring rallying cry. And then she's going to hold up that flag that says Pax Agricultura and say, follow me. And that's a type of citizen diplomacy we talk about. And Iowa has an incredible, rich history of citizen diplomacy, of citizens coming together, sometimes being at the forefront of carrying out projects, as Heidi done through Roots of Peace in Afghanistan, sometimes in influencing their government, sometimes providing the opportunity for governments which can't talk to each other to come together. I just came back from China, where I get up and say, I want to invite President Xi and President Trump to come to Iowa. They each have a connection here, and sign an agreement for the next 25 years, uplift Africa, which is going to have another billion people. Our planet's going to 10 billion, and are we going to be able to sustainably feed all of those people nutritiously? And it's not certain that we will, but we have to deal with preventing pandemics, animal and plant disease. We have to prevent and deal with and contain the vagaries of climate volatility. You don't want to fight about climate change. Climate volatility is the term to use. Every farmer will say it's absolutely volatile. Drought one year, floods the next. But what's absolutely essential, sine qua non, is we have to have peace. And particularly peace between the United States and China. And I sometimes say, I think if there was an agreement between between China and the U.S. and the two presidents and African leader in there, key basis of equality, equal partnership, why there might be a call from Oslo and an invitation to come in December of 2026. And wouldn't that be the most incredible moment? And my pitch is, they say, well, the Chinese want to steal America's agricultural, intellectual property, all of our advanced technology. I say, well, what we should do, which has been the key to American and China's development, is build roads, farm-to-market roads, because innovation and change and progress all flow down roads. China's eliminated poverty in 45 years. They went from less than 50% of roads to 100%. So it's kind of my pitch, but it's that citizen diplomacy. What I learned in Cambodia was, first, we had to demine the roads. And I'd go out with the deminers and, and kneel with them while they're digging out with a trowel. And then there was a huge explosion about 100 yards ahead. And I said, is this really a good idea? I better not tell my wife about that. But I'm so pleased we have Dr. Mort Neuville here. very distinguished member of our Council of Advisors, Dr. Manjit Misra, both my very, very good friends, and was the Seed Science Center of Iowa State, and built that, and was leading a wonderful part of our USDA. And there, so I think is it okay if we ask?
Yes.
If anyone has any comment they like to make, or a question to ask, or partnership to form with the Heidi Kuhn Global Peace Foundation. We have some contracts ready, don't we? We can bring out, and you can sign.
You're in the audience.
And you don't need a credit card. Right? So yeah. Anything? Yeah, please.
Yes, so you talk about citizens diplomacy, and so my concern is that the U.S. is still not a signatory of the Ottawa Convention. And, in reality, a big concern that I have and that many people have are the use of landmines continuously by our own country. And so my question is, what advice or strategies do you have in terms of trying to influence the U.S. direction in terms of landmine?
I think this is a question for the left side of the stage.
Well, I think honey is better than vinegar is the way I've always operated, and I attended the Ottawa Treaty to ban landmines and continue to advocate. But I think in showing this as a business deal for when the land is freed of landmines, this is economics of peace. This is the business of peace. Think of what you can build on a former minefield. Think of what you can grow and export. This is the business of peace. So I think we just have to show another way, another pathway, another way to inspire those that this is a good deal to take out a landmine, plant a grapevine, and plant peace through agriculture. That is our battle cry with this. We're holding the white rose up, and I hope that all of you will take a white rose here today to bring it, to take a photo, hashtag Pose for the Rose. The young people of Cornell launched that this last spring here in this room, and the young people of the Global Youth Institute will be doing this 2 nights from now. So we hope this will go viral like the Ice Bucket campaign. People will see it in Washington, D.C., in Moscow, in Kiev, in Israel, in Gaza, and that on behalf of mothers and grandmothers around the world, there's a better way to plant peace through agriculture. And I would like to say, in dedicating this white rose, I dedicate this initiative to Ambassador Kenneth Quinn, for in the name of the white rose, and Ambassador Kenneth Quinn, who has been the spokesperson. Nobody would have known Norman Borlaug or the World Food Prize except this humble giant on this stage who didn't have to be here. He got home from Beijing Saturday. I mean, I would be jet-lagged and flat out, but here he is on the stage, and in his honor, the White Rose campaign, may we plant global gardens all over the world. Demine, replant, rebuild, repeat, repeat. Here's my magic wand for you, Ambassador.
Oh, wow.
I present you with a white rose. That is for you, the Ambassador Kenneth Quinn White Rose.
Wow.
Now, for the fun part, we know we have great wines, and we can continue with the questions, but I would like to invite the vintners here. We're very proud Californians, and we love our wine, and we sometimes think it's the best in the world. Well, we have a taste of peace to offer you tonight. 2 Iowan vintners and making the beer, taking the wheat and the barley and the grapes and fermenting it and bringing the best that the earth has to offer. So we'll start. I'm going to start with beer because this is a Berkeley girl here. I heard of those, but the beer here is called from Big Grove. And this is made possible today because of a new board member that we're so proud to announce at the Heidi Kuhn Global Peace Foundation. And that is the former executive director of the Culinary Institute of America, Thomas Bensell, who in his retirement has just joined our board. Like you, Ambassador,
wow.
he, you know, we brought him on board, and he wants to bring food, wine, the arts, culture, music
wow.
into our family home that I inherited from my father. It's going to be an epicenter for world peace. We're calling it Pegasus, after his favorite horse on the ranch, because it's taking flight for peace in the heart of Marin County, where the UN was birthed under the redwood trees of Muir Woods. So I would love for you to come up, please, and say a little bit about the incredible beers that are regenerative agriculture and grown here in the heartland of America. So please.
If you don't mind, I'm going to take this tour on the road a little bit here and grab a beer while I talk about the beer, if you don't mind. But my name is Andy Joint. I'm from Big Grove Brewery. We're out of Iowa City. I've got my partner, Doug Getch, over here as well. But yeah, we have a very special beer to share with you guys tonight. But yeah, first let me talk a little bit about Big Grove and what I do. If you wouldn't mind, sir, I'd love to have a pint of the Kernza Lager. So Big Grove started about 14 years ago. We're out of Iowa City, Iowa, but we have taproom locations all over the state and just recently opened one in Omaha. And we're one of the largest breweries in Iowa, and we certainly take beer very seriously. But yeah, we have a fun project that we partnered with Patagonia on, and it features a really fun, sustainable grain called Kernza. So the Kernza grain, hold on one second. So brewing, is an agricultural product. Like beer is an agricultural product. Brewing is heavily reliant on farmers and grains and hops and honestly the earth and a lot of the things we're talking about here. And we're certainly very aware of how resource intensive what we do is, and we're always trying to find ways to lessen our impact and kind of help improve the earth and sustainability as we're doing what we do. But Patagonia approached us about a year ago. They had kind of worked to commercially develop this Kernza grain, and they were looking for partners across the country to kind of help promote it and let brewers know how it could be used and kind of what it could do in beer. And so they reached out to us, and we were glad to join them in the project. And so the beer we have here is our Kernza Lager. This is made with all organic ingredients, and it features about 30% of the Kernza grain. The Kernza grain it's a wheatgrass. And so it is kind of a distant relative of wheat, but it's very highly sustainable. And so in our making of this beer, we replaced a good portion of the barley that we use with the Kernza. And some of the features of that grain are it has a very extensive root system, so it actually grows about 10 feet deep into the earth. And with that, it brings some helpful organics into the soil. It really reduces erosion, and it prevents a lot of nitrates from entering the waterways as well. So, turned out delicious. We've been brewing it all year and kind of featuring it around our tap rooms. Super excited to partner with Patagonia on it. And yeah, if you haven't tried a sample of it, I would love for you to come try it. But yeah, I think that's all I have. So thank you.
Yeah, well, one of the questions, if you go to the Hall of Laureates down in the educational exhibits, is what came first, bread or beer?
Yes, the chicken and the egg, right?
Yeah, well, and
I would assume from where I stand that the beer helped them figure out how to make bread.
Yeah, I thought at first, it was the women taking the wheat, baking bread, feeding their family. And then I read about, the men are going out and they're hunting and killing animals with their hands and bringing back in and swigging down beer, and I thought, maybe closer call than I thought. You should talk to Michelle about doing. We had a beer created twice for the World Food Prize. Once on the 100th anniversary of Dr. Norman Borlaug's birth, and we called it Borlager.
Nice.
Huh? Yes. And so he said, and we had it available at the symposium. And he said, just go up and say, I'll have a Norm, Huh? So, yeah, and we partnered with one of the, a brewery, and given your, position in the industry and in the state, and if it sounds like something that might be interesting and fun
Absolutely,
to do, huh?
Yeah, that'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think it could be cool. Another, next year there's got to be some number that equates to what year it is since Borlaug was born. But it's time for another kind of Borlaug resuscitation or so in this. But
It's the 250th anniversary of America.
yeah, and of course we all know that Norman Borlaug was the greatest agricultural scientist in the history of America. Ergo, he should have a renewal of Borlager beer.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, that's the logic, seamless, I think.
It makes also sense that it come every year. Why wait for a special occasion?
Yeah, well.
Well, yeah, very good. Well, I think we have some fine folks from Walker Homestead Winery here that we're going to speak to some of the wines they have available this evening as well.
You can tell I'm from Dubuque. I talked about the beer,
So, we're both from Iowa City. I'm Bob Walker, Walker Homestead Food and Winery. We're an 85-acre regenerative farm. We believe what grows together goes together. We are a farm and table restaurant. I always say we lower our carbon footprint by walking our vegetables to the kitchen. All of our wines are with Iowa grapes. So, the best comment I get is, not bad for an Iowa wine. We're trying to be like California. I always think we are in Iowa City, the Napa Valley in the 60s. We want to be known as the local food, the local beverage. We got Big Grove. We have Cedar Ridge making really good spirits. We're making good wine. We have a lot of culinary talent in Iowa City. And my vision, our vision, is to be the Napa Valley of the Midwest for local food and beverages. So we really want to encourage you to try our wine. We brought Hope. It's an estate-grown wine of Petite Pearl and Verona grapes, cold hardy grapes. It's called Hope because we just did a fundraiser. Our mission is to build community through agriculture, education, and culinary celebration. So this is a special release for NAMI, National Alliance of Mental Illnesses. We did a fundraiser out there. If you buy our wine, we do ship it. $10 of every bottle goes to NAMI. Again, it's a local cold hardy Iowa-grown grape. Our sparkling, can't call it champagne, is Mayville Crescent, another cold hardy Iowa grape grown on estate, on the property, on it. And we do it the old-fashioned way. We do the second fermentation in the bottle. So you see these little bubbles all the time. It's really fun, inspired by you. And unfortunately or fortunately, due to Iowa law, Violet couldn't bring any Gergich wine. But when I'm out in Napa, I want to try it. So, the stars align, right? There's no coincidence. It happens here. And again, we want you to have the wine, have the beer, but more importantly, build community. That's what we're all about.
Thank you so much.
Well,
We're
yeah.
going to go try the wine now.
Yeah.
But I do want to say that it's all about innovation. We heard so many wonderful speakers, and, as depressed as we can get about seeing all these wars escalating, I think in this room, it just always reminds me the words of Margaret Mead, never doubt that a small group of people can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. And I'm very honored, again, as 12th generation American, to be appointed by the Smithsonian as the chairperson for the 250th for this Center for Folklife and Cultural Heritage. And I'd like my fellow board member to stand up, Michelle Manette, who I think many of you know her father, a big Iowa farm family, and Iowa State grad.
Go Cyclones.
And Berkeley. That's right. That's right. So go Bears. So I could see a beautiful fundraiser here because part of our strategy in the Center for Folklife and Cultural Heritage is to have a fundraiser here and bring it back to the heartland with the hope and gratitude and the fabulous beers and give the world a taste of peace this summer. How about that? So let's have a fundraiser. We'll pick a country and let's go for it. So thank you all so much. Please come take a white rose and please share it with somebody. Take a photo, hashtag pose for the rose, whatever you want to share, but let's make this go viral from the heart of America, our beautiful country, and may we inspire peace through agriculture in the name of Ambassador Kenneth Quinn. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you, Heidi.
And for
Thanks,
you.
everybody, for coming.
Come on, yes.
As you launch your project, I think a good audience could be the Peace Corps.
The Peace Corps, the roots of Peace Corps 2.0. Yes.
Their training programs for new Peace Corps volunteers, you could really do a presentation with them. I think this would be
It's collaboration. That's the answer. Collaboration, partnership, and I heard of a wonderful new program with the World Food Program today working with youth. So we're very excited about the potential partnerships that just can bloom from this room. And I'm going to start passing out white roses, and please go take your beer, take your wine, and take the best that comes
Everyone
from the
should
earth.
go over and
Please,
please
imbibe,
come over,
imbibe.
have a beer, have a
And
wine.
please, let's
Yeah.
and plant peace through agriculture. So thank you all so much.
Right. Thank you so much. Oh, sure. I wish you really, you're going to do good things. Yeah. This is collaboration. Oh, no doubt that you'll
I know I'm going to count on you.
All right. God bless.
All right. Does everybody have a rose? This is America. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. You want to look at you? I was going to say, Heidi and Cheryl together, exponentially increases the impact.
Don't tell me, but I recognize my roses. We'll teach each other.
High school in Wisconsin,